In my last video, I went over the top 10 states to live in the United States, but today we are going to cover the states you might want to think twice about moving to. So if you are considering on moving to another state, or you are just curious like me, you might want to stick around and find out about the worst states to live in the United States for 2022. What's going on, everybody? My name is Trey and welcome to my channel Just Curious. In today's video, we are going to talk about the worst states to live in America according to US News, and this ranking is based on factors such as healthcare, education, economy, and crime rate, just to name a few. And keep in mind, these are not my personal opinions. These are based on statistics which don't always tell the full story. I happen to think these states are beautiful places, but based on the numbers, these are technically the worst. Now, before we get started with the top 10, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see all types of top 10s on many factors here in the US. But enough with that, let's get started with number 10. At number 10 for the worst states to live, we have Kentucky. Now, I am originally from Evansville, Indiana, which is basically on the border of the Bluegrass State and only about a 10-minute drive there, if that. So I am very familiar with Kentucky as I have traveled to Henderson, Owensboro, and Louisville, Kentucky many times. Some good things about Kentucky are that it is home to one of America's oldest and most popular sporting events, the Kentucky Derby. Another interesting thing you wouldn't expect is that it has one of the best rock climbing locations in the United States at Red River Gorge in Stanton, Kentucky. Though it can be very beautiful and charming, Kentucky does have its fair share of issues and makes the top 10 worst states to live in, partially because they are rated 36th in education, 40th in economy, 44th in healthcare, and 48th in fiscal stability. At number 9, we have the state of South Carolina, also known as the Palmetto State. Now, South Carolina has some beautiful scenery and has quite the history, considering that it is the 8th oldest state in the country. The city of Charleston is one of the most historically important and oldest cities in the US and is a very beautiful place to visit. Also, something interesting about South Carolina is that it actually produces more peaches than Georgia by quite a large amount, although Georgia is famous for peaches and even have them on their license plates. South Carolina does have its issues though and comes in as the 9th worst state to live in, partially by being ranked 38th in opportunity, 44th in education, and 46th in crime rate. Coming in at number 8, we have Oklahoma, also known as the Sooner State. Oklahoma definitely has some pretty interesting things about it. One is that it is the leading producer of iodine, which is something pretty random that I wouldn't expect out of Oklahoma. Also, the first ever tornado warning issued in the United States happened in Oklahoma at Tinker Air Force Base in 1948. Now, Oklahoma does have some good things going for it, such as a low cost of living and pretty good infrastructure, but it also has its downsides. One is that it is located in the Tornado Alley region of the US and is usually in the top 5 for states with the most tornadoes. Oklahoma comes in as the 8th worst state to live by being ranked 42nd in education, 44th in crime, and 48th in healthcare. Coming in at number 7, we have the state of Arkansas, also known as the Natural State. Now, Arkansas is a very beautiful state and it's a shame that it falls so short in so many areas because I feel like this state has a lot of potential. Arkansas is loaded with recreational activities and beautiful scenery, so there is plenty of things to do outdoors, including many national and state parks. When it comes to housing, Arkansas has some of the worst legislation when it comes to renting, with the laws heavily favoring landlords over tenants, and it is the only state where tenants can face criminal charges for simply being behind in rent. Hopefully, Arkansas can turn this all around, but it comes in as the 7th worst state to live by being ranked 41st in economy, 41st in education, 43rd in infrastructure, 48th in crime, and 49th in healthcare. At number 6, we have the absolutely gorgeous state of Alaska, also known as the last frontier. Alaska is one of the most beautiful places in the world, but it does come with its fair share of issues. But first, let us start with some good things about it. Alaska is by far the largest state in America and is actually bigger than Texas, California, and Montana combined, which is mind-blowing to me considering the size of all of those states. Now, Alaska is filled with beautiful mountains and has 17 out of 20 of the tallest mountains in North America, including Denali, which is the tallest mountain in North America at 20,310 feet. Although being the largest state, it is 48th in population, so it is extremely remote, with only 1.2 people per square mile, which is absolutely insane to me when you compare that to Florida, where I am located, which has 405 people per square mile. Another thing I found surprising is that even though it is ranked so low in population, it has an extremely high crime rate. Alaska does have a lot of problems, but it does rank number 1 for fiscal stability, so that is a positive. Now, the gorgeous state of Alaska ranks as the 6th worst state to live in due to being ranked 43rd in opportunity, 46th in natural environment, 49th in crime, 49th in education, and dead last at 50th with the worst economy. At number 5, we have the southern state of Alabama. First, we will talk about the good things. Alabama has quite a bit of interesting facts and history. The workers in Alabama actually built the first rocket to put humans on the moon, and the George C. Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama is known as the rocket capital of the world. Also, you can thank Alabama for Christmas, as it was the first state to declare Christmas a legal holiday 34 years before the federal government made it one. Now, Alabama does have some great things going for it, but it also has a lot of downsides, such as high crime, poor education, and a high poverty rate. Alabama comes in as the 5th worst state to live in part by being ranked 43rd in crime, 45th in healthcare, and 47th in education. Coming in at number 4, we have the state of West Virginia, also known as the Mountain State. Now, it's a shame that West Virginia has so many downsides, because I think this state is one of the most underrated states when it comes to beautiful scenery, and I feel like it doesn't get enough credit when it comes to that. West Virginia is the 3rd most forested state, as nearly 75% of the state is covered by forests, so I am sure you can imagine the beauty when you combine that with the mountains. Also, West Virginia does rank pretty decent in a few areas, such as 18th in opportunity and only 23rd in crime rate, so it's not all bad here. Now, this is a very interesting state to me and a place I am dying to visit in the near future. Now, West Virginia comes in as the 4th worst state to live, in part by being ranked 45th in education, 47th in healthcare, 48th in economy, and dead last at 50th with the worst infrastructure. Okay, we are finally in the top 3, and coming in as the 3rd worst state to live, we have the land of enchantment, which is the state of New Mexico. This is another beautiful state that unfortunately just does not have much luck. New Mexico is filled with beautiful landscapes and very interesting facts. The city of Santa Fe, for instance, is the highest capital city in the US at 7,000 feet above sea level. Also, every October, the city of Albuquerque hosts the world's largest international hot air balloon fiesta. Now, New Mexico is home to some amazing national parks, which include White Sands National Park and Carlsbad Caverns National Park, which features over 100 caves. But now, on to the bad. Most people have seen the show Breaking Bad, which is set in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and although fictional, does show some of the real issues New Mexico faces, such as violent crime and drug-related issues. Now, New Mexico comes in as the 3rd worst state to live, in part by being ranked 44th in economy, 45th in infrastructure, 47th in crime, 49th in opportunity, and dead last at 50th in education. Coming in as the runner-up for the worst state to live in the United States, we have Mississippi, also known as the Magnolia State. One interesting thing about Mississippi is that Elvis Presley was actually born here in Tupelo, Mississippi in 1935. A few good things about Mississippi are that it has a low cost of living and a low cost of higher education. Also, they have plenty of comfort food if you are into that, which most people are, but unfortunately the good ends there. Mississippi has very high poverty rates and ranks very poorly in education. It is also not a very progressive state, as it lacks diversity and the acceptance to change, which hurts the state overall at attracting new jobs and businesses, on top of having low wages. Now, Mississippi is considered the 2nd worst state to live by being ranked 44th in opportunity, 48th in infrastructure, 49th in the economy, and 50th in healthcare. Okay, now before we reveal the #1 worst state to live in the United States for 2022, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it so far. Also, comment down below anything you found surprising about today's video. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more top 10s just like this one. Okay, now on to the #1 worst state to live in the United States. We have the state of Louisiana, also known as the Pelican State. Now, Louisiana is famously known for Mardi Gras, which is the largest street festival in the United States. Louisiana is also known as the birthplace of jazz and for having some amazing cuisine. And there are simply a lot of unique and interesting things about the state. But unfortunately, Louisiana is riddled with many problematic issues. One is something that can't be controlled, and that's extreme weather. Louisiana is constantly being hit by hurricanes, and Hurricane Katrina completely destroyed the state in 2005, causing billions of dollars in damage, and some places just never recovered from that. Many people of Louisiana live in extreme poverty, with 18.8% of its residents living in poverty, second to only Mississippi. Now, with poverty usually comes crime, and the Pelican State is no stranger to crime. Also, discrimination still seems to be an issue in Louisiana, with it being rated one of the worst places for racial equality and integration. Now, Louisiana comes in as the worst state to live by being in the top 10 for all 8 categories on this list, unfortunately, being ranked 46th in healthcare, 47th in the economy, 47th in infrastructure, 48th in education, 48th in opportunity, 49th in natural environment, and dead last at 50th with the worst crime rates in the country. Louisiana has a lot of things to fix, and for the sake of their residents, I really hope they can turn things around. Okay, everybody, that does it today for the worst states to live in the United States for 2022. Hopefully this video brings to light some of the issues these states face so they can start getting things turned around and improving the quality of life for their residents. If you enjoyed this video today, please give it a like, as it really helps the channel so I can keep making new content for you all. I appreciate you all taking the time to watch the video today, and I wish you all nothing but the best.